Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on today's video. I'm in deepest, darkest Sussex. I'm in the Adur Valley and we're going to visit a very old church called St. Botolph's. So I'm going to show you around and then I'm going to do a voiceover and give you some history about this beautiful medieval church. St. Botolph's Church is just outside Bramber and Upper Beeding, and it's, as you can see, in a very rural location. It's the kind of place you could easily miss if you blinked while you were driving past. But once you stop and step inside, it's like walking straight into early medieval history. Some graffiti on the church door. St. Botolph sits on a low rise near the river Adur, a landscape that used to be marshier and much more open centuries ago. The river has shifted course over the years, but historically this church was right on a major north-south route. That's part of why the church was built here very early. We're talking Saxon period, around the 10th or 11th century before the Norman conquest. It's one of the best preserved Saxon churches in Sussex and one of the very few still standing with so many original features intact. Over time, the church has been expanded, but in little phases. The south aisle is normal, the north windows show later medieval work, but nothing feels out of place. It's this perfect layered timeline of English church architecture, all in one tiny building. And there's a lovely copy where it was under the De Brose family when it was entered into the Domesday Book, and you might have seen some of my other videos about the De Brose family in Bramber. The church is dedicated to St. Botolph, who was an Anglo-Saxon saint, and he was often associated with travellers and boundaries, and really that fits the location of this little church, which was historically a crossing point between the coastal land and the Weald. The surrounding hamlet was once called Annington or Botolph's, depending on the period, and the parish was eventually absorbed into Beeding. But the church basically kept its original character through all those administrative changes. It was never drastically rebuilt, never blown apart by the Victorian restorations, which, if you know anything about churches, were quite often quite brutal. And the church has never been abandoned, which is honestly a bit of a miracle. This beautifully carved pulpit is from the 1600s, and one bit of information I found said it had been painted blue originally, although I don't know if that's true or not. And this beautiful Bible is from 1842. Sometimes when I'm researching for the videos, there's conflicting history, shall we say. So if I am wrong, apologies. I'm only telling you what I could find out. So I may well be completely wrong. These beautiful plastered walls are pale and it's so quiet in here, although it does look like it's had quite a bit of restoration work. The space is small enough that your voice echoes just a little bit, and there's a 12th century font that we saw when we walked in, medieval roof timbers and fragments of early wall paintings, which include traces of the classic red line decoration that was common in the High Middle Ages. It's definitely a place where time slows down and you don't feel like you're in a museum. You feel like you've stepped into everyday spiritual life and into the lives of the people who lived and preached here. And when we head back outside in a moment, the churchyard is worth taking a quick look at, as it's so peaceful and surprisingly open. It has such lovely views across the fields and down towards the downs. Some of the older graves are completely lost or eroded, which is totally normal for a church this old and for rural churchyards, but a few of the 18th and 19th century stones still stand. The position of the churchyard tells you that something important was going on here. This wasn't just an isolated spot. The settlement here was much more substantial in the medieval period. Before the river changed, traffic shifted, and the villages that we know today started to expand. And also, as we head outside, when you look at the exterior walls, you'll see long and short coins, I think you call them, and that's a classic Saxon corner style. And there's even some reused Roman bricks in the arches. And inside, that chancel arch was particularly striking, don't you think? It was tall, narrow, and unmistakably pre-Norman. And you can see this lovely yew tree, although it's only a baby one. It was planted in 2016, so hopefully that'll be there for many generations to come. And I found this like one remaining headstone, well, that you could read. There's not many left. And then we're going to head over and I'm going to show you something quite unique to Sussex, and it's called a tapsel gate. And it's a type of Sussex only rotating churchyard gate that pivots on a single central post. It's kind of like an old wooden turnstile. They used to be scattered around the county, but now only a very small survive, and there's just a handful of them left in Sussex. St Botolph's is one of the rare places connected with this old design, which makes it a little bit of local heritage and fun that you don't see very often anymore. I'm going to wrap the video up here now. It's starting to rain again and it's very windy and cold, as I'm sure you can tell from my lovely hair. If you did enjoy today's video, please do like and subscribe. And there's a buy me a coffee link below if you want to buy me a coffee. And what I'll do with that money is I make a contribution to all the buildings that I visit. And if I visit a church like here, that's part of a trust that takes donations to help look after it. From now on, every time I go into one of these buildings that has got a link or a QR code, I will pop it in the description, and then you can make a donation directly, because it is so important that we keep these buildings for the next generations and preserve what bits of our history are left. Anyway, I'm rambling on. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the next one.